Good afternoon and good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining today. Thanks a lot for investing your time today with us on this lovely Wednesday afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the other parts of the world. Today is the day 3 of Vinculum's Virtual Cross-Border Summit 2020. Incidentally, today is the 22nd of July, which is 22/7, which is also the Pi Day, a number that never ends, just like how we hope for your brand's growth that should never end. My name is Sumit Karanji. I am the moderator for today's session. I am an evangelist at Vinculum Group, helping brands and retailers to adopt our omni-channel and cross-border platform. We spoke in detail in the last 2 days about the various ways of going cross-border, what are the challenges via a dropship model, via a consignment or a distributor model. Today's leg of the virtual cross-border summit is all about 3PLs and fulfillment partners. The first 2 days, we discussed the various models, which now may put you in a position to think, what kind of fulfillment partners do I need? Cross-border e-commerce requires fulfillment partners at various stages: home country, destination country, things like bonded warehouse, customs clearance, last mile fulfillment, so on and so forth. The model you choose plays a key role in determining the margin you make in your cross-border sale. Hence, choosing the right partner is a key consideration in your cross-border scale-up plan. Today's session is all about that, and we have a well-rounded representation from the who's and who of the 3PL and the fulfillment partner industry, those that specialize not only in dropship, but also in consignment, freight services, air freight, bonded warehouse, so on and so forth. So let's get started and meet the panelists. We have Mr. Manu Bhalla, who is the Director and Global Head at Freight Systems Group. Freight Systems is an international freight forwarding company offering air, sea freight forwarding services, delivery logistics, and warehousing solutions globally. Manu is a keen player championing cross-border e-commerce into Middle East and Asia. Along with us, we have Percy, who is the Regional Manager of South Asia for Aramex. As you might all of you know, one of the leading global provider of transportation solutions, logistics, currently listed on the Dubai financial market. Percy comes with a deep domain expertise in logistics and e-commerce and is also on the board of IAMAI and EICI. We also have a young entrepreneur, Shashi Shekhar Tripathi, who is the co-founder of eShips and is on a mission to simplify cross-border logistics through the first mile digitization and post-shipment analytics tools for enterprises. Joining us from Singapore, Shreya Bose, who is the Regional Manager of Partnerships at Ninja Van. Ninja Van, as we all know, is a leading courier company in Singapore and Southeast Asia and a preferred fulfillment partner for several marketplaces in the region like Lazada, etc. Last but not the least, we have a very passionate Mr. Syed Ali Rida, who is the venture builder and the Chief Operating Officer at Genio Asia, which provides everything from freight forwarding, custom clearance, B2C fulfillment in the Southeast Asian region. Thank you all for joining in, and we would love to have your insights as the session progresses. Over the last 5 years, working with 1,000+ sellers, retailers, and e-commerce brands, one thing which is strikingly similar amongst all the high-growth consumer-facing brands is to explore the new markets, new channels within and outside of India. There is a definite cross-border dream hidden in each one of us, though it may be very small. And I realize that the first step in order to help any brand to achieve their aspiration of growing cross-border is to demystify some of the key jobs to be done while going cross-border. And can we imagine anyone crossing the borders without a third-party logistics company? That brings me to my first question, and that is to Manu Bhalla. So Manu, how does one select the right 3PL partner? What are probably the 4 to 5 key pointers to keep in mind before one selects the right 3PL partner for their brand? So example, in the returns management, how to handle returns in a country where one is not locally present? Is it even wise to think of calling the unsold goods back to origin? So if you can take that question, handling about returns management, and maybe give us a few pointers. What are the 4 to 5 key pointers to keep in mind before selecting a 3PL partner? Over to you, Manu.
For e-commerce business, like us being an e-commerce player with a license for e-commerce, we can handle the returns very easily, right? So it depends on whether the end user is, within a free zone company, like our major distribution centers are in the free zone in Dubai. So returns from within the free zone are quite easily handled because, it's not crossing into the DTA area, that is the domestic tariff area. But when it goes out of the free zone area, typically what happens in a B2C shipment, then returns management is a little more complex. Yep. But because we have a license for e-commerce activity, we can handle returns both in the free zone as well as outside. And that's why choice of a 3PL is very important. Company like Freight Systems, we have multiple warehouses and container freight stations in Dubai, UAE area. So we can handle returns both in the DTA, the domestic area, as well as the free zone area, right? Okay. So Dubai, that way is quite easy to handle. It's not very complicated. Yes, there are some documents and that's fine. People like us who are e-commerce players, we also file the returns based on the customer's, VAT registration and so on. So we can easily handle the VAT complexity also when it comes to returns, right? So that is part one. And the second part related on whether we should have a return to origin or the actual, I think it's particularly for low value products, it would not be recommended, right? Because sometimes the freight cost is much more. Let's say if it's coming from Singapore and then shipping it back to Singapore. So we would, advise our clients that, either we obviously we allow them or we enable them to refurbish their goods and recycle their goods. Like if it's just the packaging needs to be changed or, labels need to be put again. So all that can be done. But if, for example, it has to be sold at a discounted price, we'd rather advise that it be done in that fashion locally than taking it back to the origin country. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question.
Sure, Manu. That really makes sense because this is what, we have been speaking to a lot of brands and retailers, and this is something that really bothers them as to who will be handling all those returns, what will help to the liquidation, how are they going to make sure that it is handled in the correct way. That's where I think selection of a right 3PL partner makes a huge difference. So as a key takeaway, Manu, what are the 3 most important pointers that you would suggest to the audience here before selecting a 3PL partner?
So my number one advice would be, somebody who understands the ethos of the company, because, like, for example, we engage with the customer and his brand, right? So, for example, if our customers delighted, then our customer gets delighted. So I think a lot of what is attitude and approach, right? Secondly is the infrastructure in terms of domestic infrastructure in the market that you want to operate. For example, if it's UAE, then yes, we are a 30-year-old company and we have, like I said, all the infrastructure. So obviously choose the right partner with the right experience and expertise in the local part. And the third is the high level of technology that is available, which gives the visibility, which allows connectivity to other marketplaces. You get end-to-end visibility. And that way, from Dubai customs perspective, there's a whole lot of digitization which the UAE government has enabled. So if the 3PL partner has the right technology like we have, then, you have end-to-end visibility right through the supply chain to all the stakeholders, right through the, life cycle of the product.
Sure. Thanks, Manu. That is really insightful. And when we really talk about the marketplaces, there are a lot of marketplaces that a brand can choose to go with, especially talking about the Southeast Asian region. And my next question is to Shreya for that. Marketplaces typically nominate a 3PL partner, a brand who uses a technology like Vinculum, where several 3PL fulfillment partners are integrated. What are the benefits to a brand if they go through a company like Ninja Van that is already a nominated partner to many marketplaces, for example, Lazada? Shreya, if you can just help us get some insights on that question.
Right. Thank you so much for having me on the panel. An honor to be a part of this esteemed panel. So in terms of, I'll quickly say what Ninja Van does within the region and then giving context in terms of how we are working together with some of the largest marketplaces in the region. So we've been operational in Southeast Asia from 2015, with Singapore being one of our first and largest markets. And then we expanded to other countries, which include Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. So currently we are operational with our own self-owned fleets in these 6 countries, offering 100% geographical coverage with COD capabilities as well. Which is one of the reasons why we are probably a preferred and nominated partner on some of the largest marketplaces in the region, including Lazada and Shopee, like you mentioned. So in terms of the benefits that a brand would get, I would definitely say because of the pan-regional relationship that we hold with these partners across all the 6 countries, they get access to, of course, preferential rates from these marketplaces. So that's one benefit. Secondly, because of the relationship we have with them, particularly talking about the tech integration and the seamless flow of statuses, which is very beneficial to a consumer and to the seller. Because we own the assets and because we are technically integrated with Lazada and we provide granular level of tracking, it's just a wholesome and better customer experience in general for the brands, especially when they're expanding and setting up in a new market. I feel tracking and having visibility on the end-to-end flow becomes very important. Other than that, if a brand chooses to work with us directly and not going via marketplace, we've been doing a lot of cross-border in the region within Southeast Asia and also a lot of outbound from East Asia into Southeast Asia. And we've gone beyond the scope of our core service, which is just last mile. So we are doing a lot of air freight, sea freight movements, also providing cross-border sourcing and cross-border financing capabilities.
Okay.
And our entire ecosystem of services allows us to add value and also extract value from these brands in terms of giving them a more wholesome cross-border experience and going upstream in the supply chain. And lastly, as I mentioned before, because we own the assets, because we control our fleet completely, it just gives a better and more wholesome experience to the consumer and the brand when they are new to the market. So in terms of market knowledge and visibility, which ultimately adds to the operational health and excellence of the 3PL that they choose to go ahead with.
Sure.
We definitely stand out there.
Sure. And Shreya, the same question to you. What would you think the audience should keep in mind? Maybe a couple of pointers as to how and when they should select the right 3PL partner.
So I think when you're setting up in a new market, of course, everybody tries to choose a 3PL that is more price competitive. So I think in this case, somebody who's been around in the region and has the expertise and market knowledge, that is one consideration. Second is the kind of services they provide in terms of how diverse it is. Thirdly, I would say in terms of value-added services, especially because there's an increasing demand for COD in Southeast Asia, because probably the low internet penetration. So most of the countries that in which we operate, like I mentioned, we have 100% COD capabilities, right? So choosing a 3PL that has all these value-added services and that works in collaboration with other partners in the region. So now, for example, like Ninja is working with Janio together, Ninja plans to work with Vinculum together. So one 3PL that provides this entire ecosystem of services so that the brand has one point of contact to ideally deal with makes sense.
Sure, Shreya. So that really sounds very apt, when you spoke about the ecosystem as a whole. So for making a cross-border dream come true for brands seamlessly, I think the ecosystem has to work very, very much like an oiled machine. And when I talk about going cross border, I would really like to take some insights from Percy, who has like seen it all and has been working with Aramex for quite long. So Percy, my question to you is, what benefits would a brand get if they go with a global player like you, who may or may not be a nominated marketplace fulfillment partner? But when I say about B2C e-commerce, where is it that, what kind of benefits can a brand get, and what are your thoughts around it? And I see you are on mute, Percy. If you can just unmute yourself.
Thank you, Sumit. Sumit, I would like to answer the question by showing a quick presentation, if that is okay.
Yeah.
I hope the presentation can be seen.
It can, yes.
So basically, what value does the customer want when they are working with a 3PL partner? Okay, yep. Now if you look at the e-commerce value chain, the e-commerce value chain covers the complete range from procurement of the products, the marketplace, the customer interface, which the brand already has the expertise and is able to handle it. Right. What the brand also looks for is a complete range of solution where their orders can be fulfilled, their shipping can be taken care of, the last mile can be handled, whether it is a prepaid or whether it's a COD, a complete range of end-to-end solutions with, if it's a COD, the payments coming back to him on time. So this is what a brand normally looks out for. And if you look at the life cycle, Aramex is able, as a 3PL partner with a 38 years experience in emerging markets, yep, with ability to provide an end-to-end range of service where once an order is received by the customer based on its IT capabilities, to receive the details through an API, provide competitive shipping rates, arrange for pickups across markets and not just certain geographies, to ship the products either through express or through freight as the customer wants, with a complete visibility of the product in the entire value chain, handling the custom brokerage, handling the last mile, handling the cash on delivery. Today, Aramex provides cash on deliveries in multiple markets. It's the leader in the MENA. We also provide cash on delivery in Southeast Asia as well as Africa. So this is the entire range of services Aramex is able to offer, including a checkout solution, which is a very unique solution when it comes to e-commerce. The checkout solution enables the brand to have a full view of his shipments, to highlights the status of the shipments as the shipments are going through various paths. The platform also enables the brand to manage his shipments, change addresses or change delivery instructions or add invoices, and the entire system is integrated in a way where information once added by the brand reaches to the last ground courier immediately for him to handle the shipment correctly. So this is the value a 3PL partner with a 38 years experience brings on board. Now, if you look at from a experience perspective, it has been seen that close to 67% of the people prefer the ability to schedule the deliveries. They don't want the package to arrive at the time the 3PL brings it, but they want to schedule it. And close to around 69% of the people want a flexibility to change the delivery location to be able to pick it up from a particular place or be delivered to an alternative place. Now, in countries where the law allows to do that, there is a consumer app where the consumer can communicate with us seamlessly without having to call up a contact center, wait in a queue, where he can schedule his deliveries or decide that he's going to pick it up from one of the PUDO points that Aramex has. Aramex has close to around 300 plus PUDO points in Saudi. It has locker locations now in Dubai. It has close to around 3,500 plus pickup points in Southeast Asia across the geographies from Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, and elsewhere. So this is the value a 3PL partner brings in the whole process. Another important part is with e-commerce, COD comes in to be a very important part in the whole value chain.
Yep.
Most geographies, including Middle East, are similar to India, where people want to pay for the product at the time of delivery. In fact, 50% is the estimated mix between COD and prepaid. If you look at geographies like Saudi, Nigeria, UAE, Indonesia, and Philippines.
Yep.
And Aramex, over its last 38 years experience, has built the capability where it can provide a COD solution and remit the money immediately back to the customer.
Yep.
Along with the COD, something new Aramex has just launched is a product called Aramex Smart, where individuals can be subscribers to Aramex Smart, and it's a pay later solution where the individual can receive the package, open the package, use it, and decide to pay Aramex at a later date. It's a product we just launched around a month back. It started off in the Saudi market, and it's a very interesting product where brands can integrate Aramex Smart and the checkout option of theirs, and that way they don't have the risks of COD returns that they would normally have in a normal case. So that's an interesting development which is there. As I said, the critical success factors at any point of time a brand would look at is the technology solution, the pricing, custom clearance capabilities, the brand image and transit time, and all 5 capabilities Aramex brings on board immediately as a service provider. Another important part, particularly for brands who want to do fulfillment from markets other than from India directly, because a lot of marketplaces would need the brand to be at the destination markets and not shipped from the origin. And along with the fulfillment, Aramex is able to provide an IOR service to its partners, which enables the brand to handle the custom clearance and fulfillment of the products at the destination, so that as and when the orders are received, they are able to process it and fulfill it using the Aramex Fulfillment Center.
Sure.
So that I would say is the advantage Aramex brings in as a 3PL partner.
Awesome, Percy. I think you covered very, very important points there, and those are anyways some of the jobs that to be done by a brand before they can consider going cross-border. And one of the most important point you briefly touched was the importer on record. Now, a lot of times what happens is whenever a brand charts out their business plan to go cross-border, apart from the 3PL fulfillment part, there are major things to be taken care of where companies like Janio can play a vital role. Now, Janio's mission statement, obviously, Syed, is to simplify the logistics solutions for everyone to be able to sell anywhere. Emerging brands, Syed, when they think of cross-border, often they have a very uncomforting feeling about how do the customs take place, how would a brand really handle the customs clearance, the filing and handling of the goods, because this is something where there is no direct visibility. And so my next question to you, Syed, is how do you think as an owner of Janio, how do you think emerging brands can take care of all these things which they cannot see directly and they do not have control? Example, the customs, the filing and handling of the goods and clearance. So would love to know your thoughts on that and how Janio can help.
I think, again, thank you for Sumit and Vinculum team for organizing this. So addressing your question directly, I think with regards to the life cycle of a brand who wants to enter the cross-border world, I think the initial stage would always be drop shipping, where they're shipping up from the origin country and just drop shipping it to all the various end destination country accordingly. That's always the first phase, because again, they don't want to put inventory in destination country because it may not make sense, Then the next phase would be pretty much perhaps moving closer to market, to a regional DC accordingly, and drop shipping closer to the market accordingly. The next phase, when the volume grow and whatnot, they may look into a national DC and then look into distributing locally. Why I'm highlighting this purely because Janio, in our experience with many customers who are about to start cross-border shipping and all, we don't immediately tell them, come, take a lock, stock and barrel, a few pallets, put it in Singapore and just start shipping there. Purely because we see it from a shipper point of view, what is the risk that, what's the risk appetite with regards to doing cross-border accordingly. So Janio accompany the shipper in that life cycle. And the good thing, you know, when we present our solution, we present a solution whereby we address the 4 C's or the 4 C challenges with regards to shipping cross-border. First and foremost, cost. Cost is everything at the end of the day. You know, if you are shipping with perhaps some of the traditional integrator for an order value of $40, it may cost you half the price. It may not make sense at all. Secondly, coverage. Southeast Asia, 650 million people. It consists of 2 archipelago, one in Indonesia with 17,000 islands, 17000, and in Philippines with 7,000 to 8,000 islands, depending who you ask. Yeah, you know. So basically, coverage is also very important. You know, so to address the challenges of cost and coverage, we actually aggregate, I would say, the local heroes, the local first mile, the local last mile, and whatnot, and work together with them. I think when we started this, we saw the potential for, I would say, logistics players to collaborate rather than compete. So we openly say that we partner NinjaVan, and we use NinjaVan services, and vice versa, NinjaVan use our services also. You know. And likewise, Aramex, hopefully one day we can be partners also. You know? Sure. So that's how we address cost and coverage. The third one, which is customs. Customs in this part of the world, let's be honest, the word would be unorganized or dynamic. It's similar to also India and to a certain extent most part of Asia, you know. So to address this and also to ensure there's no ambiguity, there's no gray area, you know. Even though we are a 2-year-old and 6 months company, you know, we have our own, we acquire our own customs license, you know. So take example in Indonesia, our biggest market, we own the biggest private bonded in-house customs on Jakarta Airport. Because of that capability, you know, we can guarantee customers clearance capability that they can sleep at night. There's no surprises with also with regards to duties and tax, because we are able to offer DDP solution, you know, and it's a solution that we work together with also NinjaVan to offer to their customer accordingly. I think, like I said, through logistics, we would like to enable trade. If you look at ASEAN data, 83% of import into Southeast Asia was from China. While other people think that, oh man, China will pretty much grow in sizes, we took a different approach. We felt that non-China origin will grow. So places we are seeing, with that bet, we are seeing places such as Korea growing, Australia growing and whatnot. And we hope we are also keen, and we hope that hopefully India will be the next biggest origin into Southeast Asia. Accordingly. Sure. Yeah. So and definitely the last C is cash on delivery. Similar to what Percy said and what Shreya said, in Southeast Asia, 60 to 70% of cash of e-commerce transaction is cash on delivery. However, with regards to Southeast Asia, the flow of money is controlled. Money that goes into Indonesia, very hard to go out. Money that goes into Philippines, you have to file a huge paper to bring it out, you know. So what we've been lucky, purely because we are a Singapore company, we are able to centralize the remittance and use Singapore as an escrow center accordingly to manage international cash on delivery.
Sure. Thank you, Syed. That was great. So the key insights for me, 4 C's: cost, coverage, customs, and COD. I think you really hit the nail on the head. Those are actually the most important points that any brand has to think before entering any country. Especially if you see the data that you gave, if 60 to 70% is cash on delivery, and when you're talking about returns, almost 15 to 20% are returns. Now that really brings us to an important point, that it becomes very, very important for any brand to track all of that in order to not lose money if they go for the cross border. And excellent insights there, sir. Thanks a lot. We'll come back to you. Shashi, now that we have set the context, just before I come to you, we have some audience polls, and I would request Sakshi if you can just highlight the poll for the audience to give their views on. Sakshi, if you can do that, please. So yeah, I would request all the audience to please give your feedback on the poll questions there that can really help us to serve you better and answer your queries. At the end, we will also have 10 to 15 minutes of question and answers open to the August panel here and get more views out of their experience. And it is a rare phenomenon. We can bring such an August panel to give their views from across the globe. And talking about the newest set of young entrepreneur systems who are really making a big dent in the logistics space. I would like to ask a question to you, Shashi. At eShips, and as a person, how do you think important is the last mile fulfillment, the tracking of the CODs, if the COD collections have come, if they have come, how does a brand get visibility? And is there any analytics that a brand should consider before really going cross-border or selecting the right 3PL partner? So if you can just throw light on how do you think all of this can be managed, and is there any tool around it or any insights for the same, Shashi? Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sumit. Hi, everyone. I'm Shashi from eShips, and we are digitizing the first mile shipping and providing the post-shipment analytics to the medium and large enterprises. So very happy moment and very unfortunate time in COVID. What happened that business has gone for toss. But we have also seen that for the first time in the last 15 years, India has become net export positive. So from the business point of view, those producers or the exporters out of India, it's a huge opportunity for all of us. And how do we bridge this with the multiple solutions already available in the market? So what we do, we actually provide a multiple market channel access and the multiple carriers network as such. So the companies who are looking to go global, they get the solutions of getting onboarded to multiple marketplaces through Vinculum network. And we help them with the shipping solutions as such, with the integrations with 84 carriers. So our services are available across the globe. So we have focus on India and USA and Southeast Asia as market as such to start with. We enable these brands to have integrations through their ERP systems to the respective courier company ERP system. So all this manual process of creating a shipping label, tracking, then having a visibility, then reconciliations and all these things can be completely automated. So the process which was done in 4 to 5 hours a day in a single warehouse can be completely automated. While we're working with a lot of companies who are based out of India and abroad, we have realized that they are aware of the brands. Like Aramex is a global brand which everyone is aware of, but they are not aware of the systems which can help them to implement in a way that they can do much better services with Aramex alone. So in terms of the integrations or with the other service partners or the local channel partners, they will have more visibility. So what we do, we give them an access so that they can have a visibility of all the parcels going to the multiple carriers. They will have a visibility of how many of the parcels are coming as a return. In terms of ERP integrations, in terms of multiple market channel access, one panel to manage all of these orders. This is how we help them. So going global, we try to make it much more simplified with the existing system already available in the market. So this is how we support e-commerce sellers or the bigger brands in terms of giving them an access, easy access. So they are aware that if I have to go to USA or any other market, these are the common marketplaces which are known to everyone. If I have to get listed on those marketplaces, I don't know there is a company called Vinculum, but if I have to process these orders, how do I do it? So that's where we come into picture.
Sure. Sashi, a follow-up question there. So it all really depends on the technology as well. So in your view, over the last 5 years, how do you think that technology has changed the way logistics is being handled by brands earlier and now?
Correct. Very, very important question. So when we are speaking to the small sellers to extremely large enterprises, what was happening is that the small sellers who are trying to go global, they have to go through a lot of issues, as in like finding the right partner to go global in terms of handling IOR or other legal requirements. As such, they were having very difficult problems. When we speak to large enterprises, they were knowing that these are the major carriers who can help me in going global. But what was happening was it was not a direct link. So all of the process was happening manually. So the large enterprises used to come to the warehouse, they used to do the manual entry of tracking labels, and then it was uploaded back into the system. What we have done, we have provided a seamless bridge between the company's ERP and the carrier's ERP, so that there is not a single. So in last 5 years, if I have to give an idea, so there is a lot of automations happening in the market, and people are finding it very easy. So the time spent in terms of label creations or the follow-up post analytics or even the customer engagement, if the product is not delivered to any end consumer, so the company need to deploy an additional manpower to handle those queries. So a customer will call, where is my order? Why I have not received these packets? So that's where we come into picture, where we help brands to make it completely automated through a tracking chatbot. So anyone can write the details, order ID or the tracking number. He will see the product is about to be delivered or not to be delivered. It is coming return or such. So that these can help in improving the customer engagement or the experience as such.
Okay. Sure. And when we talk about that, all of the shipping is done and the visibility is there. There often seems to be a situation where a lot of data is being handled. So let's say if I'm a brand and I'm working with multiple partners, unless I do not have an aggregator or I do not have a system where I can analyze all those data, can you throw some light into what kind of analytics is very important if a brand has to work with multiple logistic companies and track the data and get some meaningful insights out of it? Any key metrics in terms of analytics that you could share with our audience that they can keep an eye for?
So we have actually 4 or 5 engagement tools as such. So one is definitely which is the best carrier in terms of delivery percentage, on-time delivery percentage versus delayed deliveries. In terms of costing is the second factor. Then we have also understood that companies are looking to have better engagement. So if the product is received, can I have an NPS? Like, can we do a follow-up with those customers to have a next purchase? So that's where we come into picture, where we try to engage the customers again, that in case you want to do a repurchase, we'll help you there. We also provide them with an analytics saying that, hey, so this is the market where the CODs are not successfully delivered. So we have something called as a filtering basis, where we understand that certain parts of the globe, the COD, even if you send, it's not going to be successful delivery. So we do this filtering from our system, and we inform customers saying that these are the locations where these kind of products are getting sold more, these kind of prepaid or the COD services are more successful ratio based on our analytics. So based on that, we inform brands that these are the important key metrics which you have to look into to make it a very successful product or as such as a delivery point of view.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Shashi. I think that was a wonderful session, and we really got to know a lot about what are the key elements to select a right 3PL partner. In case of a returns, how do we ensure that the returns managements are taking place? In terms of a nominated partners with a marketplace, how does a brand get benefited? Or if it is a without nomination, how do you take care of the entire end-to-end cycle? So some very key and useful insights from there. And not to forget, obviously, the key takeaways from Syed about the 4 C's, which is cost, coverage, customs, and COD. I think these are some of the few pointers that we would like the audience to keep in mind before they go about achieving their cross-border business plans. And that really kind of brings us to an end of the discussion today, because we saw in the last 2 days there were so many questions flowing in from the audience, and we could not kind of take it all, but we make sure that each of the questions is being recorded, as well as the presentations and the live recordings are sent out to the audience, and we'll also make sure that all the questions are being answered in the course of the day. We can obviously open up the question and answer session, Sakshi, and start taking the questions relative to the panelists, and take it from there. So Sakshi, if you can just open up the Q&A for the floor, and we can take, let's say, around 5 to 6 questions to start with.
Thank you, Sumit. Hello, everyone. I'm Sakshi from Vinculum Group, and I'll be handling the Q&A for today. So all the attendees are requested to post their questions on the Q&A tab. So, Sumit, we have the first question from Chandeep Chetwal, and he's asking, is Ninja Van picking up e-commerce orders from India as well, if they are destined for areas they can service?
Sorry, I think your voice was breaking. Is Ninja Van picking up from where?
Picking up e-commerce orders from India.
Okay. So we do not have an operational presence in India, but we do work with vendors and we do work with DTDC to pick up in bulk. So probably if a vendor is based maybe in Delhi, he can consolidate and hand over or either schedule a pickup from DTDC. And I'm just naming a random partner, like we work with multiple partners. So for example, the partner goes and picks it up from them, flies it down to Singapore and injects it into Singapore. And from Singapore Free Trade Zone, we take over the end-to-end process where we help them to ship from Singapore into Southeast Asia. Obviously using our own coverage and last mile capabilities in each of these countries. But we prefer, or rather we recommend to our shippers from overseas, from anywhere in the world, to inject into Singapore particularly because of the frequency of flights, the 24 hours customs clearance, and also flights are cheaper from Singapore to the rest of the countries in Southeast Asia. So Singapore serves as an injection point. But coming back to your question, no, we do not pick up with our own fleet in India, but we work with vendors across the region to support e-commerce merchants in India. So that's one of the partnerships we've been working on with Vinculum as well. So we are working to see if they can provide, or rather we can give them first mile solutions from India. And then Ninja Van completely takes over the end-to-end process from Singapore, Southeast Asia.
Thank you, Shreya. The next question is for Percy. If a cash on delivery shipment is sent on Aramex and the buyer refuses to accept, who is charged shipping and what is the percentage of international RTO?
Very good question. If a buyer refuses to accept the shipment, which is a phenomena, which is a concern to every retailer and brand, yes, that is a challenge. What we do at Aramex is we provide multiple solutions to the brand to enable them to handle these kind of return to origin packages or refused packages in a cost-effective manner. So the first solution we provide is if the ticket size of the product is not very large and bringing it back is not a feasible solution because there is a cost of bringing it back. We provide the brands with solutions where they can hold the shipment at the destination with our partner in the fulfillment area. And the next time the similar product is ordered from that market, they can pass the same order to the partner of ours who can repackage it, label it, and hand it over to our teams in those markets. And we can re-deliver that product again. That is one solution available over here. The other solution available is a solution where if the product is not a product which is a fast moving product and the brand does not expect that they are going to get a repeated order and holding that package for a long time at the destination is not a viable solution. We provide them with partners who can provide a disposition option. So companies similar to the OLX in India in those markets who market open box products or who market refurbished products, and these can be sold through them also. The third solution that we provide is we have been working very closely with Indian customs because if your product ticket size is large and you don't want to hold it at a destination and you want to bring it back to India, the biggest challenge was is there going to be a custom duty when you bring the product back into India? And we are very happy to say it is only in the month of June, after working with customs for a close 6 months, we have been able to build in a capability in the customs portal where shipments which have moved under CSP 5 on express mode can be brought back to India, custom cleared without duty, and handed over back to the brand in India. The only requirement on this is very simple. The product needs to have a unique identity or SKU number on their label, which is also mentioned on the invoice. And if these two things are available, the brand now for high value products, if you have got designer apparels or electronics or ticket size ranges above a couple of $100, you can bring it back. Aramex provides a cost-effective solution to bring those products back into India and deliver it duty-free to the brand in India. So these are the three solutions we provide to the sellers, and with that, I believe they can minimize the impact of the refusal. The last question was, what is the percentage of COD? It's very difficult to give a percentage of COD because it would range from seller to seller, product to product. It depends totally upon the product category. There are categories where the returns can be as low as 5%. There are categories where returns can be as high as 30%. So it's very difficult to give an answer which is precise on that.
Sure.
Okay.
So you anyways answered that it's between 5% to 30% is what, ideally in your experience has been the RTOs. So over to you, Sakshi, for the next question.
Yes. So the next question is from Mr. Ravi, and this is to Mr. Manu. How would the first mile, middle mile, and last mile would get handled in case of B2C dropshipping model?
Hi, Ravi. So it would depend on which location you're speaking to or which market you're targeting. But let's say if you're talking about Dubai and UAE, and let's say if you're a shipper from India, so India, I mean, Freight Systems has 19 locations in India where we pick up, right? So we could pick it up, and depending on the mode, whether it's going to move by air, or we also have sea services. So we have LCL and FCL mode shipment into Dubai. We are one of the largest consolidators, both inbound and outbound of India. So we can move LCL shipments also, which is quite cost effective under normal circumstances, not the COVID times. Yeah, things are a little different. But yeah, so we pick it up from the vendor, or let's say if the brand has its own factory, from the brand's factory. And if it's an outsourced production, then from the brand's vendor, we pick it up from there, do the custom clearance, move it by air or sea into Dubai. We do custom clearance there. Now, if the brand has an entity in Dubai, wherein that company becomes the importer on record, that's fine. If not, then like I mentioned earlier, we have an e-commerce company called FSL ShopEasy. So ShopEasy is licensed to operate as an e-commerce operator, and that company can then be the importer on record. So we then import on your behalf, and we, based on whether your end customer is in the free zone. If it's in the free zone, then no duty payment is required. But if it's going out, then yes, duty is paid and delivered. So we offer the entire gamut of the supply chain, and we are also in 18 countries: South Asia, USA, Europe, Africa, and so on. So we can support shippers literally from anywhere in the world, and to pretty much any market. But where we are really very bullish about the e-commerce product is in the Middle East market. Dubai, as we all know, geographically is in really the center of the world. So we have, we handle, the fulfillment center in Dubai is about 40,000 pallet locations, including temperature control. And we can deliver into Africa, deliver into Europe, deliver to GCC countries, do cross-border into Saudi. So we are, pretty well placed. So I hope I've answered your question, Ravi. And in case you have more queries, you can write to me. My email ID, Vinculum team can provide.
Thank you, Manu. So the next question is for Mr. Ali. The question is, can you provide insights into B2C dropshipping distribution models? Presently, the discussion is more in line with B2B, B2C models.
So basically, truth be told, I do not have the data right now with regards to drop shipping accordingly, you know. Like I say, but what I shared earlier is the life cycle of any merchants who are keen in doing cross-border shipping or who is about to start to do cross-border shipping, you know. Some of the challenges that we face when talking to SME or a big Asian company, be it in Southeast Asia or India and whatnot, they have a mentality, especially in countries such as Indonesia, Thailand, and India. They would tell me, "Oh, my domestic market is big enough." You know, the thing is, if the Chinese SME also have that mentality and all, then we'll all be happy because they won't be invading Southeast Asia. I mean, perhaps invading is too strong of a word. But with that said, also I think a change of mentality is required, you know, by many SMEs, you know, in Southeast Asia and also India and whatnot, whereby noted that the domestic market is big, but the potential for cross-border e-commerce is a long tail effort that requires to start now rather than later. So I don't have the statistics right now comparing drop shipment and RDC and everything and whatnot. But truth be told, I think especially with regards to SMEs, I strongly encourage a strong change of mentality, purely because if we keep saying that, oh, my domestic market is big enough and all, then eventually other countries such as China or even US, UK, Korea and whatnot will take a piece of our pie, perhaps in Southeast Asia, and it's going to be a bit too late for you to catch up if you don't start now accordingly. But with that said, also, I just want to add on to what Percy said with regards to COD and all. When everybody refers to the Southeast Asian market, people like to cross-reference the famous Temasek Google report, who says that the Southeast Asian market will be a $300 billion market by 2025. But a key part of the report is pretty much with regards to payment, cash on delivery, because a huge part of the population here is still the unbanked, or they just don't trust transactions via online, or there's a lot of unrecorded income by the people and they don't want to be tracked accordingly, you know. So just sharing a stats with regards to a major American brand that we are supporting. When they switch on cash on delivery, their growth, gross growth is around 67 to 78% gross growth. But with that said also, their net growth became only 58 to 67 to 69% purely because there is rejection at door. There is a risk with cash on delivery. We won't lie, you know, but the pros outweighs the cons accordingly. But what is important, like what Percy said, service providers such as Aeromax, such as Janio, such as Ninja have a solution to manage the risk involved with regards to cash on delivery. Purely because if you don't switch on cash on delivery, especially in Southeast Asia, it's very hard to see the needle move. And this is coming from my experience, especially in Zalora, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Sayed. So the next question is for Mr. Shashi. The question is, which are the categories which you foresee will have the most traction across e-commerce in Southeast Asia region, considering local duties, ease of storage, and customer preferences?
Thank you, Sakshi. Basically, what we have understood from the cross-border market is European market and the American market is somehow saturated. As such, the number of service providers entering to those territories are almost predefined, and there will not be much of change in terms of the transactions happening. When we see the other two markets, that is Middle East and Southeast Asia, we see the Southeast Asia on the upper hand from our e-ships perspective. The reason in terms of the reports or the population or the consumption in these territories are much higher. So when we see Indonesia, when we see Malaysia, Singapore and all, we have seen that the demands from the seller, from our seller, are more compared to the other territories as such. So when we see in terms of the categories, in terms of product, what we have realized that the apparels is definitely going to be the first which anyone is going to export to these countries. And if it is a niche kind of product, something like which is like traditional or handicraft items, these kind of items are very much in demand on these territories. When we speak to bigger brands such as who are into apparels like Google does exports and all, they are doing very good exports into these territories. And we have realized that they come through multiple challenges. So one challenge is finding the right partner into these territories. Although they have partners who are based out of India and helping them to deliver to these locations, but when it comes to the local distribution, they have this challenge. So there we look out for these, some of the local players, and we help them to export to these territories. When we understand from the local like customs perspective, we have seen that there is not a clear de minimis value. At a minute that is declared, it's not very much like implemented in the normal export. So there we have seen that they need some kind of hand-holding for these exports to happen. So there we, as a 3PL provider, we take care of the complete logistics requirement, be it a domestic territory, international territory, or in terms of technological implementations through multiple ERP systems, we help them to go global. So we see that the Southeast Asia market growing very faster. The sellers of India and abroad are looking to Southeast Asian market. And since because of this China feud with other countries, we have seen that Southeast Asian market is going to come up very faster. And the export to the other countries, so like cross-border inquiries, we are getting from Malaysia for the export to USA. So we are working with the Kerry Logistics. So Kerry Logistics is based in Hong Kong. They are one of the largest service partners in that territory. So we have understood that the sellers who are based out of India, they were sourcing these products from China. But now, because of the disputes happening in China, they are sourcing these products from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore, these kind of territories. So we generally help the brands to look for already like alternate solutions. So it's not that they have to be stuck to any one marketplace. They don't need to stuck to one service provider. So it's a technology which can help them to empower through multiple channels. So that's where we come into picture. We help them to say, hey, you are working with this marketplaces, there is an ample opportunity for the other marketplace also. You're working with one service provider, other service provider is also equally competitive for you. So why don't you have a multiple plethora of service providers and you decide which is the best. And since we provide analytics, we know that how many deliveries are happening on time, who are better in terms of efficiency, or how much of COD you are about to receive from any service provider who's giving you COD on time. So that's where we give them an option that, look, these are better service provider and you can go ahead with those marketplaces or market carriers as such.
Thank you so much, Sashi. So the next question is, with the new concept of bonded warehouses, can any one of the panelists explain the advantages of the challenges of keeping goods in a free zone? So maybe Shreya can answer and Ali, you can join later.
Sure. So in terms of storing in a free trade zone or in a bonded warehouse, you basically save on the import taxes and duties. So for example, in Singapore, you don't have to pay the 7% GST, or in Malaysia, you can not pay the 10% SST. That is one advantage. I think the other advantage is that most of the free trade zones are located in very close proximity to the airports. So if you're opting for any export solutions using F-rate, your cost, the cost of the 3PL and the rates for the shippers are always cheaper because of the close proximity of the free trade zone warehouses to the airports. But I think Ali can elaborate more on this, because Janio also I think Janio set up a free trade zone warehouse in Singapore and also in Indonesia. So would also love to hear from him on his insights on this.
I think with regards to the concept of the free trade zone and all this, we need to be very clear what's the advantage to the shipper accordingly. Most free trade zone offer deferment of tax, but not defrayment of tax.
Right.
Currently, only Singapore and to a certain extent, the Malaysian digital free trade zone will allow you to defray it if your product, after you store it and you want to sell it, is still below the de minimis value of SGD 400 in Singapore and RM 500 in Malaysia accordingly. But however, free trade zone or bonded logistic zone in Indonesia will only allow you to defer it, but never defray it. Purely because as long as it's stored inside the free trade zone, when it goes out to the Indonesia open market, irregardless of value, you need to pay. So that's something that we need to be very clear. What's the advantages of the different free trade zone in this region accordingly, and all. And I guess from a shipper point of view, and I'm saying this not purely because I'm Singaporean and whatnot. One of the best, I would say, free trade zone in this region is Singapore, purely because the rules are very clear. Next would be perhaps Malaysia, but again, this is something that is still very new to them, and I think with the change of government and whatnot, they're still settling on the rules and regulation. But the beauty of the Singapore free trade zone, you need not be a registered company in Singapore to do operations inside the free trade zone. So basically, you don't need to register your business and all. You can immediately ship it to service provider within the free trade zone and start doing pick and pack up from there accordingly. Because of that also, revenue is still recognized at origin country. Meaning if you are Indian shipper, you ship 20 to 30 pallets to take example Janio inside the free trade zone, your revenue, your corporate tax is still paid out from India and never in Singapore accordingly. Yeah, so that's the beauty of operating out inside the free trade zone. And I think with regards to Singapore, and this is something that I encourage perhaps in India SMEs and whatnot, if you are looking into penetrating into Southeast Asia and choosing a hub, Singapore will be the best purely because Southeast Asia is 10 countries. But not all 10 countries would be a perfect market for cross-border. So you would split Southeast Asia into two zones, one which is what we call the Nusantara market. Nusantara market is Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, and Philippines. The Nusantara market consists close to 63 to 65% of the entire population. The Nusantara market have market with very high demeanor, Singapore SGD 400, Philippines USD 400 and whatnot. So having it from Singapore and focusing on the Nusantara market would be less risk as compared to trying to penetrate Thailand with demeanors only USD 30, Vietnam with only USD 25 and whatnot, and Myanmar, Laos and Cambodia, their rules not being very, I would say, organized yet and all. So my recommendation to any companies who are trying to enter Southeast Asia, focus on these 5 countries first and all, purely because it's of, I would say the solution to cross-border out into this country would be much more easier. Yeah.
So can I just add something to the free zone, just again from a UAE perspective, right?
Sure.
So you see, Dubai, apart from all the the features which I've mentioned by my colleagues, the big advantage is for transshipment. So whilst I touched upon it, because when the cargo comes into a free zone, there's no duty paid. And if it's a transshipment cargo, you can hold the cargo there. You can also do certain value-added services like some picking, packing, assembly, labeling, and then ship it out. So from Dubai again perspective, that's a huge advantage for the whole region, the entire GCC, and like Singapore, Dubai also is a great hub. Primarily because the complexity, let's say in Saudi and some of the other countries, is a lot greater, and Dubai encourages free trade, so it's very easy. The ease of doing business is absolutely fantastic. So one of the other advantages of using a free trade zone is the transshipment. Secondly, what I've seen is when let's say the brand is also supplying to Amazon, Noon, and some of the other large marketplaces, or let's say the in operating in the UAE. So most of them have their DCs also in the free zone. So there is no VAT transaction. So let's say if it's Freight Systems DC, which is in the free zone, and let's say Amazon DC is also in the free zone, we can simply do a delivery to Amazon, right? And there is no VAT involvement. So it's very simple because both the units are in the free zone itself. So it's very easy to handle those kind of shipments. So I just wanted to add that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Manu. So we have another question from Sanjay, and the question is, how would 3PLs help us with end-to-end visibility of stock movement right from the time of inventory pickup to delivery to end customer? Do you have specific solutions for unsold goods, refurbishment, quality control, and unsold goods? So maybe Percy can answer this, and Manu, you can join later.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Very interesting question. Yes, there is going to be a challenge when you decide to maintain fulfillment in multiple locations where you would have certain unsold goods, or in case of fulfillment from India where the product is not delivered and hence it has to be handled back, and the value of the goods, as I had explained earlier, is not large enough to bring it into India again. And in situations like that, there are solutions available where we tie up with partners who can help you with either value-added service of fulfilling it, holding it, repackaging it, or doing a QC to decide first whether it can be resold. And once the QC has been done, and it is certified to be resold, doing the packaging. And if it's not certified to be resold, finding a partner who can either do a open box sale, or finding a partner who can do a proper abandonment of that shipment under a certified controlled environment. So these kind of solutions are available and can be supported in most markets where we operate. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah, so just adding to what Percy said, like I mentioned earlier, Freight Systems has a e-commerce entity, right? So, which basically means we can operate as a trading entity. So we can be your trading partner. We can be the importer on record. So we have our own logistics and supply chain licenses. But apart from that, we also have a specific e-commerce license, so we can be the importer on record, and we can do the invoicing on your behalf. We can handle returns, refurbishment, and all those kind of things. So yeah, so I suppose every company has its own sort of niche area, and so yeah.
Okay.
I hope your question got answered, and there's something else we can add to that.
Thank you so much, Manu. We have another question that is from Sujit, and he's from Lifestyle India. The question is, they're exploring Asian markets for some of their apparel private label brands through marketplace sites. So is there any instances of an existing Indian ethnic wear brand working in these markets? So maybe Shreya, you can answer, and Shashi, you can join later.
Most of the marketplaces that we work with in the region do have a lot of small, medium sellers. But in terms of purely an Indian brand, there is no brand listed on any of the marketplaces that we work with. But like I mentioned, we do have a lot of small, medium sellers who are based out of India, who are listed on either Lazada, Shopee, or even other marketplaces. And most of them, when it comes to logistics, what these marketplaces offer is what we call a seller-owned fleet model, where these merchants are required to engage with their own 3PL or look for their own logistics solutions from India to import the goods into Southeast Asia, which is where something like Vinculum becomes important, because they help to curate the solutions for these brands, because they work with multiple 3PL and fulfillment partners across the region. So in terms of answering your question, in terms of a big brand in India that's listed here, I wouldn't have it at the top of my head, and not that I'm aware of, but yeah, there are a lot of small, medium sellers, particularly selling textile and dry food into Southeast Asia, that are listed on these platforms. So if you just scroll through Lazada or Shopee, you'll come across a lot of these brands, Indian brands.
Adding to that, so we work with a couple of big brands as such. So one is Google Das Exports, Rupa, and a couple of other companies. And we have seen that they may not be doing directly with the marketplaces, but they have the sources, or they have some agent who are helping them to go global. So they will export the item on their name, and these guys will take care of the distribution across India, across different locations in Southeast Asia. Even small sellers who are into e-commerce, like Beatitude, who is into saris, exports, and also different kind of saris like Mithila saris, Kanchipuram, and different, they have a huge demand because of the Indian-based located Indian people working in these countries and all. So we see a lot of export happening to of apparels in particular across the globe. So US is the biggest market, but after USA, I will feel that the Southeast Asia is the second biggest market for the apparel segment as such. And so so suppose if any brand want to go to these territories, what they have to find first a service partner. Then second one would be the which marketplaces, and what happens when the parcel is coming return. So in case of non-delivered goods, how do we manage those non-delivered goods? How do we either stock it or return it back to the or maybe destroy it and all these things? So that's where we come into picture. So in case you have any question, I would like to take this discussion forward. So Vinculum team can help you with my email ID, and we'll definitely be able to help you there to go to these markets.
Sure, and adding to Sujit's question, so Sujit, we have taken many Indian apparel brands outside of India, and there are a lot of curated activities that needs to be done in terms of product and pricing selection, the price point analysis, the negotiations with the marketplaces, understanding the legal obligations, tax compliances, after which rate at which the products can be sold in a particular market can be arrived at. So then we will definitely get back to you, and our team will get in touch with you and take a deep dive into your questions and help you out from there. And we'll definitely involve Shashi as and when needed. Thank you.
I think I just want to add on, when I speak about brands, now it comes to my mind. I've seen particular retail outlets of Fab India in Singapore. So I'm sure they're doing some amount of B2B movements from India to Singapore or Southeast Asia to get their goods in. So that is definitely a possibility. But in terms of pure B2C parcel level movements, not that I've seen it yet, but yes, like relying on you guys to help these brands set up in Southeast Asia.
Sure.
Thank you, Shreya. And Sumit, we do have a lot of questions, but I'll be taking the last question for today, and that is for Mr. Ali. The question is, what is the delivery time frame from UAE to Southeast Asia? Do you help UAE e-commerce sellers to go Asia? What is the enablement process, and do you support cash on delivery?
So as of now, to be very honest, the closest thing to the Middle East as an origin to us is we ship actively up from Istanbul, Turkey, for a brand called Modanisa. Which is, I think, also a player in Middle East accordingly. But yes, we do foresee the potential other than India, Middle East also as an origin country. What I like to highlight now, I think being only non-Indian here, I think there's a huge potential of Indian fashion in Southeast Asia. But you shouldn't view it as Indian traditional wear or whatnot, but focus on the modest wear. Purely because those long dresses, everything and whatnot is definitely sellable and all. And without us giving away the brand name in India, yes, we have a customer who is shipping actively to the while their target market is the Indian diaspora in Singapore and India. They are slowly right now trying to penetrate India in Indonesia accordingly, purely because they realize that again, rather than positioning it as Indian wear, they're positioning it as modest wear. Yeah, so I think at the end of the day is about how you position your product accordingly. So similarly to the Middle East, again, fashion would be number one. I think Sashi already shared some of the verticals. On our side, other than fashion, we know health and beauty is a huge thing, to be very honest, especially halal health and beauty in this part of the world is massive, it's definitely if you are into health and beauty or your brand owner, definitely there's an uptake and all. Thirdly would be home and living, we're not talking about furniture, but we're more talking about soft furnishing like pillow covers, bed linens and whatnot. Is huge here in Southeast Asia. People would pay 3-digit amount just for a few thousand thread counts of linen, to be very honest. I don't understand that but perhaps the ladies would. Fourth, if anything, associated with moms and babies purely because the birth rate in Southeast Asia as a whole, while you see increasing, the number of kids per family has actually reduced a lot. But with that said, vis-a-vis the income that a family is earning so the spend per child is much more higher now than compared to 5 years ago.
Okay.
A parent would just spend X amount of money for a son to make sure that they are in the new shirt or whatnot. Last but not least, food. I mean, you just look at my size. Anything food, people will definitely buy in Southeast Asia. Why I say this openly? Purely because you will see very often a tourist from Singapore, from Indonesia, from Philippines. If they go to the Middle East, they go to the bazaar and whatnot. They would put in Instagram, "Hi guys, I'm in Dubai. What nuts do you want? Pistachio and whatnot," and they will sell it 3 times the price that they bought it. So there's huge potential, to be very honest.
I would like to add to Ali.
Yeah, please go ahead. I'll continue.
I would like to add to Ali, Aramex with its presence in 70 countries, which are emerging markets, which include Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Africa, can provide solutions, not only focused into the Middle East, but from anywhere to anywhere. So that's a solution based on a 38 years experience, which we can provide. And if you need any support, our teams would be happy to connect with you and help you over there.
Sure.
I also just want to say something very similar, like Ali was saying. We've been witnessing an increasing demand from the Middle East into Southeast Asia. And our recent funding, one of our investors was Oman Post. And we've been working very closely with Oman Post and a couple of other brands from the Middle East market to also build distribution. So happy to take any questions, any queries that you guys have for Middle East export, and we'll be happy to partner with you guys to work this out as well.
Thank you.
Sure. I mean, that was exciting and great responses, and I'm sure the audience would have loved the insights that all of you gave. And although, I see a lot of questions coming up, and due to the paucity of the time and in the interest of the time, what we'll do is we'll reach out to each of you and answer your questions to your satisfaction. We'll also involve the panelists if there are any specific questions directed to them. And once again, I'll thank you, panelists, for joining in and sparing time to share your insights with us. Thank you, everyone, for joining the virtual cross-border summit. It's a full week event demanding just an hour of every day, and I hope your Wednesday afternoon or evening in other parts of the world was entertaining as well as insightful. Do come back tomorrow for a special deep dive. Looking forward to seeing you all again, and have a great day or evening ahead. Thank you once again.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.